Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavad Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti.
So the topic we have taken for study today is the spiritual quest. Now, what are we going to learn in this 1 hour? What is the nature of spiritual quest? What does it mean when we say a person has spiritual interest? What are the essentials? The second is how to recognize spiritual quest in yourself and in others. At least others, if we recognize, we won't disturb them, we won't challenge them, we won't prevent them. The third is, where does spiritual quest lead a seeker towards? What is the culmination of spirituality? And fourth is, where are we and how to start today? 4 things. If you know, your spiritual map is worked out, even if you are not interested. Even if you are not interested in spiritual evolution, the map is in front of you. So the topic is the spiritual quest. If you refer the dictionary, the meaning of the word quest is a long, arduous search for something higher. This is what quest means. Quest means a long, arduous search for something higher, not lower. No plant, no animal is searching for anything higher. So quest relates to your gross intellect. Tikshana buddhi, it is called in Sanskrit. Spirituality means seeking the spirit, the self within, beyond your body, beyond your mind, beyond your intellect is the self. So seeking that spirit, that self is called spirituality. Spirituality is common for all of us. Religion could be different. You can't say, I am a Muslim, what you are talking is not relevant to me. You can't say, I am an atheist, what you are talking is not relevant to me. Spirit or self is there in every being. But you can say, I am a Hindu, I will not live like a Buddhist. That is okay, because religious practices are different, but spiritual destination is the same in all religions. So the word spirit in the topic refers to your subtle intellect. Quest refers to gross intellect. Spirituality refers to subtle intellect. Gross intellect means tikshana buddhi. If you don't know Sanskrit, it's okay. You don't have to remember and memorize. If you can, nothing like that. But for those who may know the language, I'm giving you the terms. So tikshana buddhi means gross intellect, which propels this quest for something higher. And subtle intellect directs that quest towards spirituality. Or else this quest for something beyond mundane, for something higher, gets misdirected. Moon mission, Mars mission, all these are nothing but quest from the gross intellect, but the subtle intellect is not able to direct it. So it is going into so many other lanes without any culmination, without any result. So before we understand the nature of spiritual quest, we need to understand how a human being is constituted. The component parts of a human being start with the physical body. The physical body is like a vehicle containing 10 spare parts, 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action. 5 organs of perception are called as jnanendriyas. They are the sensors that help in receiving stimuli from the world. 5 organs of action help in performing action in the world. So these 10 parts put together is your body. So what are physicians? They are nothing but they are addressing the physical body. Beyond the physical body is the mind. It is not the body that performs action. The body is only an instrument. Mind is beyond the body. It is internal. What is the role of mind? Mind is the desirer in us, feeler in us. And this is the problem. The problem is mind cannot decipher what to desire, what not to desire. The mind cannot choose what to feel, what not to feel. It just feels. Anger is also a feeling. Aversion is a feeling. Discrimination is a result of strong animosity. Alienation. I don't like that person. Aversion, hostility, all come from the mind. Positive emotions like joy, peace, identification also come from the mind. Desires come from the mind. Your mind also serves as the medium, like a central processing unit. So it receives the stimuli through the organs of perception, and the mind propels the organs of action to perform an action. It is not my body or vocal cords that speak. It is my mind that is speaking through the body. But if the mind is allowed to speak, it would be like a child. It would prattle. There won't be any coherence. So beyond the mind is your gross intellect. Your gross intellect has to decide what the mind should do, and accordingly your body should act. So this gross intellect is called as tikshana buddhi. Body, shariram. Mind, manas. From this root comes the word man, manas, manushya. Buddhi, gross intellect. Tikshana buddhi, the first function of gross intellect is to observe. The capacity to observe, people are losing because of mental preoccupation. That is why we say absenteeism, mental absenteeism, attention deficiency syndrome, lack of concentration, split personality. All this is because the intellect is not able to observe, retain its focus. So the first function is to observe. The intellect is that which learns in you. The learner in you is the intellect, not the mind. Mind is the feeler. Now, as you are listening, your mind feels, I think it will be a nice session. Or your mind feels, I think it's going to be boring if you are first time. Second, third time means I would assume it is interesting, or else why would you come? If you have decided first time it's boring, you won't come. You will mark the mail as spam and get away from it. So observer, the next function is learner. It's your intellect that learns. Be open-minded, we say. Mind can't be open. Mind is closed. It's the intellect that is open. Intellect is open to fresh ideas. So based on those ideas, you think and then you decide. These are the functions of gross intellect. Beyond the gross intellect is the subtle intellect, which is there only in a human being. A poet, the poet in you is the subtle intellect. The inquirer in you is the subtle intellect. Is there something called as God? Even a Hindu must think, are there so many gods and goddesses? Are they all wearing masks nowadays? They are also in quarantine. They have been in quarantine for ages together, never appear. Deadly than coronavirus is any one of us, so they are afraid. So inquiry means the capacity to think freely beyond what is mundane. So the poet, the inquirer, the contemplator, the philosopher in you is the subtle intellect. These four aspects, body, mind, gross intellect, and subtle intellect, are called as matter, material compositions in you. Matter means made up of 5 elements. They are your belonging. They are not you. So they carry no life on their own. This body carries no life on its own. Mind cannot feel anything on its own. Intellect cannot process thoughts on its own. They are material gadgets, just as the bulb is. Bulb throws light only when there is electricity. So the light spark in each and every one of us is called as the spirit enlivening the matter. The spirit is called as Atman in Sanskrit. Self in English. God, as familiarly all of us know. So God is not some unknown entity hiding beyond the skies, beyond the Milky Way. These are bedtime stories for a 7-year-old. Say, no 7-year-old today will buy those stories. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they gave stories for the young intellect. So that based on these stories, children will ask question, where is God? Have astronauts seen God? Because they've gone up. So when the intellect is available, you give the knowledge of what God is, what that Atman is. So these are the constituent parts of an individual. The first person pronoun I that we claim all the time comes from the self. Body, mind, gross intellect, subtle intellect would define what you are. I am an athlete. I am a sports person. I am a musician. I am a scientist. I am a mathematician. I am a poet. I am an artist. These are all what you are. They can change. What you are is something that you have acquired from the world. But who you are relates to yourself. It is not something acquired from the world. Your organic identity is the self. The alarming truth that scriptures introduce to us is we know everything about the body. We are concerned about the mind. Intellect layer also we don't come to. Forget the self. So the cross-section of humanity is living in spiritual darkness without this fundamental education, which was available at least in Bharat, in India. Last 300, 400 years, there has been no education in this direction due to industrialization. All education is directed towards industry. And that's why you find humanity is going through crisis after crisis. So this combination made up of spirit and matter, Atman enlivening the body, mind, and intellect, has two choices in life. Uniqueness of a human being is you can evolve in life spiritually or devolve. No animal can do that. A tiger cannot become a better tiger. A lamb cannot become a ferocious lamb. It's not possible. Only a human being can evolve in life or devolve in life. These two choices are available. Now, how does that happen? When your knowledge and identity circulates around body, mind, and intellect alone, you remain mundane. So all of us belong to this category of mundane individuals because nothing negative about it. Mundane means we are identifying with the body, mind, intellect, and chasing objects, emotions, thoughts in the world. That's all our businesses. Using your body, what are you doing? Chasing sense objects, a better shirt, a better furniture, a better car, better home. If you can afford a better partner also. For the body. For the mind, emotions. What is the cost of emotion? $500,000 for 2 dogs. This is the highest price paid for emotion. You're on what? Not watching news, is it? Aparna, you're watching? Ishana, you know what the $500,000 is for? Vedanta says, find God, you got infinite. Lady Gaga says, find my dogs, I'll give you $500,000. You didn't hear that? You know that? She's advertising, find my dogs, I'll give you $500,000. Vedanta says, find God. You just have to reverse. She's asking for a dog. Vedanta is giving you God. You get everything. But we value $500,000 more than the self, more than the infinite God. Because our knowledge and attention is upon the finite, upon the body, mind, and intellect, upon the objects, emotions, thoughts of the world. So as you gain some fundamental knowledge of life, your focus slowly shifts towards yourself, towards your spirit. So this pursuit of spirit, this quest for self is called a spirituality. So when you are chasing the mundane aspects of life, it is called as bhoga. Bhoga means indulgence. But in and through your mundane responsibilities, if you are seeking the higher self, this practice is called as yoga. Not practicing in a studio or buying up a studio. That is yogasana. Yogasana is different from yoga. That's not our theme today, but just to help you know the two words. So every one of us have these two choices in life: to identify with body, mind, and intellect, remain mundane, or to gain the knowledge of self, spirit, and become spiritual. Okay, I'm interested. Out of the few that are attending, 2 people say, from today I will shift my attention to the spirituality in me. It's not a resolution. You can't shift suddenly. So today, what exactly is the status of our personality? All over the world, personalities can be divided into 4 permutation combinations. Whether you are spiritually fertile or you are spiritually important doesn't decide on opportunities. People say, India, you have a lot of opportunities to study. Here, temples are closed, no Vedanta classes, hardly any opportunity. It's not decided on opportunity. It is decided based on your personality. So there are 4 types of personalities. The first is when your mind is dominating your personality, when your gross intellect is weak. When your mind is strong, when your gross intellect is weak, your subtle intellect remains asleep, dormancy. So you remain a mundane person, just chasing more and more sensuality, materiality, collecting gadgets. Second combination is your mind is strong, but your intelligence is sharp, but your gross intellect is weak. Intelligence means you're a brilliant engineer, you're an ingenious doctor, you're a great scientist. So what would happen still is your subtle intellect would remain dormant. If you speak about Vedanta to them, after 15 seconds, they will fall off to sleep. Why do you think so many people are coming to Vedanta class? Later the class, more the attendance. Because if for 7:30 p.m. we have Gita class, 7:35 p.m. I hear snoring noise. That's why we say keep the audio off. Go off to sleep, because the subtle intellect is not there. It is the subtle intellect that receives this knowledge. If it is not there, you can speak to your partner, you can speak to your boss, you can speak to your neighbor, you can speak to your boyfriend or girlfriend. It doesn't work because their subtle intellect is not available. It's dormant. Why? Because the mind is preoccupied with the world. But in worldly sense, they are brilliant because they have intelligence. Second category. Third category is your gross intellect is searching. It is seeking for something. Your mind is relatively calm. It is pacified with reference to the world. It is not exceedingly greedy. There is a smile in the face. Those sort of personalities you find, the subtle intellect is awakened. They have that spiritual quest. In Sanskrit, it is called as MUMUKSHATVA. This is the third. Fourth is gross intellect is very strong. Mind is relatively subdued. Intellect is sharp. They become versatile sages, saints, philosophers. And when the mind is completely stilled, they become jnanis, Jagat Gurus. A brilliant Ramatirtha or an ingenious guru like our Guru, Swami Parthasarathy. You can go to these people and ask how to work mathematics. You can ask them how to keep body fit. You can ask them how to play cricket. You can ask them how to get on with my partner. You can ask anything in the world. They will show you the way. But you can't go to a Ramana Maharishi and ask how to play cricket. Because worldly intelligence, he has not bothered. Just that he doesn't bother to focus. So, what category you fall into is not dependent on who is your guru, is not dependent on what books you read, not dependent on nation you come up with. It is dependent on your mind, gross intellect, subtle intellect. 3 faculties in you. If I have to differentiate between gross intellect and subtle intellect, that will be 1 hour. I'm not going to do that. Gross intellect means worldly thoughts. Subtle intellect means transcendental. That's all we can cover now. Now, what is the spiritual quest called MUMUKSHATVA? MUMUKSHATVA, the Sanskrit word MUMUKSHATVA, can be equated to hunger, to spiritual, to food industry. What is the fundamental foundation stone of food industry? It is not infrastructure, it is not the chefs, it is not food produce, it is your hunger. Your hunger is the fundamental investment. Same way, the fundamental requirement for spiritual journey is this MUMUKSHATVA. What is this MUMUKSHATVA? Mokshum michyatvam iti mumukshatvam. This is the etymology, definition. What it literally means is moksham ichyatvam. Moksha means liberation, freedom, emancipation. Ichyatvam means desiring, seeking, quest. The quest for liberation is called mumukshatva. Seeker, you say. Seeker means a mumukshu in Sanskrit. So the quest for liberation is called as mumukshatva. Now, what is this quest? How does it manifest? Just as there is physical urge. Every few minutes you may feel thirst. It's a physical urge. Every 4 hours, 5 hours you feel hunger. That is physical urge. 15, 16, the physical urge, not 15, 16, 12, 13, the body becomes fertile for sensual urge. Same way, the urge to discover your real being, the spiritual urge is called as mumukshatva. The Vedas say, if you have mumukshatva, 10,000 horses cannot pull you out of this. Out of this means out of this pursuit. If you don't have that mumukshatva, 10,000 horses cannot bring you into it. You understand? Why I'm saying that is, some of the parents, they blame gurus, especially my guru, because he runs the academy. 16 to 28 is the admission age. Agam, you have a few more years only, huh? Make up your mind. 16 to 28. So parents say, he is wasting, he is pulling all the youngsters, he is giving electrifying lectures to the youngsters and pulling all of them into the Vedanta Academy. Vedas say, no one can pull you into spirituality, no one can eject you from spirituality. It's your own mumukshatva. No one can pull you into a restaurant. It's your hunger that takes you. No one can throw you out of a restaurant. It's your hunger. If you don't have hunger, you don't go there. It's your spiritual hunger. So a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa asked him, Swami, I've heard about this mumukshatva everywhere. You're a God-realized soul. Can you tell me what mumukshatva is? How does a seeker feel it? I don't feel anything, he said. He said, I've come to you, but I don't feel any mumukshatva or anything. What is it? He said. The Guru smiled and said, when the time comes, I'll tell you. He said, when the time comes, I'll tell you. And in a couple of hours, they walked down to the river, Hooghly, and they were all taking bath. And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was sitting on a stone, which was in the river. And the disciple who asked the question was washing his clothes. And after he washed, he took a dip to take bath. As he was taking a dip, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa plunged his hands upon his head and immersed him in the water, did not let him come up. He didn't allow him to come up. He held him there for a few seconds until he knew this fellow can't handle it anymore, and then he let loose. He came out and said, Guruji, what are you doing? You almost killed me. Why? He said, there is no oxygen. I was desperately trying to get some oxygen, he said. The Guru said, this is MUMUKSHATVA. MUMUKSHATVA means the desperateness with which a drowning person looks for oxygen. With that desperateness, if you are seeking God, you have MUMUKSHATVA, he said. So all of you sign out. None of us have that MUMUKSHATVA. So basically what we understand by MUMUKSHATVA is, MUMUKSHATVA means seeking the higher, seeking liberation in life. Liberation is of no consequence to a person who is not aware of any bondage. A prisoner is serving a sentence in the prison. The supervisor of the prison is also serving a lifetime sentence. A supervisor, suppose you are given a job as a supervisor at the age of 28. 65, if you are going to return, if you're going to retire, you are spending more number of years than any prisoner there. But you don't feel bound. You're free to go out anytime. But the prisoner who is serving a sentence for 3 months feels the bondage. So who seeks liberation? Who wants to get out of things? The person who feels bound. Awareness of bondage is primary, is fundamental to seeking liberation. Because in spiritual lobbies, they directly talk about liberation, mukti, moksha, emancipation. These are all very big words. You should seek moksha. You should seek nirvana. You should seek liberation. You should seek enlightenment. Sit under a tree. In -15, if you sit under a tree, you'll be frozen. So what is that? Seeking happens only when you understand, when you are aware of bondage. The moment we are told awareness of bondage, we don't know what we are bound to, because all of us feel that I am a free soul. I am so free in life. I can decide what to do. Little bit of bondage we feel now because of the shutdown. You may have the best of cars, but you're not free to go out. You may have all the money, but you can't go where you want. You can't buy what you want. You may have a lot of friends, but you can't visit so easily. So there's a bondage. Because of this bondage, we all are seeking liberation. What is that liberation? Vaccines. If I get vaccinated, that's the liberation. So the thought of liberation cannot happen unless you are aware of your limitation. You feel constricted, restricted, bound. What are you bound to? Any one of us will say, oh, partner. That is why people are saying, within the house, it's a big boss show now. She is also working, I am also working, children are also studying. Everything is happening within 4 walls. We feel bound, we feel bound. So beyond people, beyond objects, beyond weather, beyond environment, we don't feel any bondage in life. That is why we trade for each other's life. A person here wants to go to India, the person in India wants to go to US. Person in US wants to go to Australia. Everyone is trying to trade for the other person's life. It takes us the scriptures to tell us what bondage is. The scriptures tell us that this bondage happens universally. And this bondage happens in 3 ways, 3 words: avidya, kama, karma. 3 ways in which we are bound to life. Avidya means ignorance. Kama means desires. I'm just translating. I'll explain what it means. How it affects life, I'll explain. Avidya means ignorance. Kama means desires. Karma means activities stemming from ignorance and desires. All of us, including me, are bound to these three propensities in life. What are the three propensities? Avidya, Kama, Karma. Vijay, you are wearing your, what is it, Janoi or Junoi? Sacred thread. Huh? You are wearing. The sacred thread is made of 3 strands of thread. And in the sacred thread, there is something called as a Brahma Mudichu. It's a knot. If you have a thread, you will know there is a knot. Huh? There's a knot. And that knot is made with 3 threads. No one understands why these 3 threads. Why not have 4? Why not have 15? Why not have just one made of gold? 3 knots there to say your life is knotted with these 3 problems in life. Avidya, Kama, Karma. That is why when a boy goes to a guru and he has learnt all the scriptures, he has freed his mind from terrestrial desires. He is ready to take sannyas. The guru comes and cuts his sacred thread. He cuts it at that knot. What is this cutting ceremony? Rarely happens. Why he comes and cuts? The guru declares that you have crossed the barriers of avidya, kama, karma. You don't have to wear it anymore. It's exactly like a prisoner coming and cutting the shackles in the hands of the police coming and cutting the shackles in the prisoner's hands. Because he is no more bound. He is free to go. When you go to Ganges, why 3 dips? Avidya, Kama, Karma. You drown. You don't drown. You drown these 3 in the Ganges, in knowledge. When you go to a temple, why you go around 3 times at least? Avidya, Kama, Karma. You should get beyond. Everything is 3. So how does this ignorance manifest in life? When we use the word vidya in Sanskrit, vidya means knowledge. Avidya is translated as ignorance, but it is not ignorance. Avidya means wrong knowledge. Ignorant of your real self, every one of us assume ourselves to be the body, mind, and intellect. This ego is the wrong knowledge. The sense of individuality is the wrong knowledge. So avidya manifests as ignorance of the self. You identify with your body, mind, and intellect. All of us are identifying. I am male, I am female. When you declare, you're declaring the body. I am tall, I am short, body. I am fair, I am dark, body. I am young, I am old, body. I am happy, I am unhappy, mind. I am a graduate, I am illiterate, intellect. So all of us are using the first person pronoun I with reference to the body, mind, intellect. We don't know anything beyond that. You may say, so what? The moment you identify with body, mind, and intellect, you chase objects, emotions, and thoughts. And any amount of objects, emotions, and thoughts you have in your life, it doesn't fill you. So identification with body, mind, and intellect creates a void, an emptiness within us. All of us feel this void. All of us feel this emptiness. It may not manifest all the time, but it is there at the root of our personality. Ignorance of self, identifying with body, mind, and intellect creates a void. And whenever there is void, your thoughts rush towards the world. Just as if there is void in your stomach, your thoughts would rush to the kitchen, to the pantry, to consume food. So wherever there is feeling of void, your thoughts are rushing to fill that void. These thoughts rushing towards the world to fill that void become desires. This is how you acquire desire. Just like that, you can't pick up a desire. It's no easy joke. Innumerable thoughts need to be going towards the direction. Your thoughts will not go to the direction if you don't have void. I need my own house. I need my own house. Your thoughts are not running in that direction. Why? Because you don't have that void. You have your own house. But I have to get married. I have to get married. I have to get married. a person's thoughts run towards the direction because he is unmarried. So your thoughts always run towards a direction where there is an emptiness, there is a void, there is an insufficiency, there is lack of supply. So ignorance creates void. From void emerges thoughts running towards the world. These thoughts that run towards the world consolidate into your strong desires that rule your personality, that rule my personality. Your desires and thoughts could be different from my desires and thoughts, but both are coming from that void feeling. There's no difference there. Just as when you're hungry, you may eat Chinese because you like that. I may eat rasam sadam and curd rice because that's what I like. Whether you eat Chinese or sushi doesn't matter. Both are coming from hunger. So this void generates thoughts. Thoughts consolidate into desires. These desires propel you to act in the world to acquire and indulge. And that is where we are caught. Where all of us in life are caught without any exception is with these two motivations. Acquisition, enjoyment. Acquisition, enjoyment. Even gaining knowledge is acquisition. Spiritual knowledge. But it gives you clarity on what you are doing. No other knowledge gives you. No other knowledge gives you a clarity on what is happening in your life. Only spiritual knowledge, Vedanta gives you. But even that is acquisition. So all of us are entangled with these two motivations in life. Acquisition, indulgence. We have to acquire resources from the world to pay your bills. You have to come in contact with sense objects and enjoy. There is no problem with these two. But the problem is, the mind in us believes that the next thing I want to acquire will fulfill me. It's like a child crying. This is my last ice cream. After that, I will never ask. I'll never ask. I'll never ask. So the mind in the most intelligent person amongst us is a child. It says, this is the last thing I want. After this, I will not ask anything. After my daughter is married, I have no problems at all. After my son becomes responsible, there is no problem at all. After that, I am ready to join Vedanta. So everyone believes that the next thing that I am aspiring for is the final thing in life. After that, I don't want anything. Genuinely, mind makes us believe. So all of us are caught in what is called a samsara. Samsara means mundane entanglement. Man gets married. He wants to have children. Children are grown up, son and daughter. Daughter is married, son is married. Daughter has 2 children. Son doesn't have any children. Everything is fulfilled. He got his job. He got married. He produced 2 children. Both of them are married. Daughter has children. But son doesn't have a child. One thing nags the mind. And the person believes, the moment my son has a child and I have a grandchild through him, after that, I am ready to study Vedanta. Poor Vedanta. People fix their own milestones for it. This after that I am ready will never happen in life. It will never happen in life, huh? Satyam. After that, there's a saying in Tamil. A boy was standing in the shores of an ocean for hours together. So a wise man who was lying down there, he went up to the boy and said, what are you standing here for hours together? He said, I want to take bath. So you want to take bath? Just go and dip. He said, no, I am waiting for all the waves to subside. After the last wave comes to the ocean will be calm. I'll take bath, he said. There is no last wave. You want to take dip in the ocean, you should know the art of negotiating through the waves, not wait for the last wave to happen. So this last wave is the last desire. After this, I am ready. After this, I am ready. Till the last breath, that last desire doesn't happen. So we are caught up in what is called as the samsara. Samsara means terrestrial entanglement, due to which humanity is going through a sense of void, emptiness, boredom, a vacuum, grief, deception, midlife crisis, mental health disorders. All these are stemming from this wrong guidance of the mind. The mind misguides, the mind distorts. The mind distorts, and the intellect in us is not able to reason it out. So this is the map of every individual's life, even my life, no exception. As I said, if you know what is happening to you, you can get yourself out of it. If we don't even know what is happening to us, there is no way we can get ourselves out of it. So because of void, because of emptiness, because of vacuum, what do? We again allow thoughts to rush towards the world. You all came from wherever you came from. It could be India, it could be Africa, it could be US. Why? Because some emptiness there, we came here. Now there is some emptiness here. What is that you're trying to do? Go to some other place, do something else. So again, you allow your thoughts to rush into the world. Those thoughts become desires. Those desires make you acquire and enjoy something different. You won't acquire and enjoy the same thing, something different, something different. But you go back with the same deception, same void. For that void, what do? Again run after the world. Again pick up desires. Again get entangled in acquisition, indulgence. Again feel a sense of duped, void. That is why in the most developed countries, they have to officialize, legalize substances. You visit a home here, they'll say, do you want chai or coffee? Slightly more liberal family, whiskey or brandy. But today you can say, you can ask, Agam, do you want marijuana, weed? I don't know these things, to give example. Do you want some weed? I can give you, because it's legal. Why? Because the mind is nagging. We have examined the world. Nothing gives that infinite bliss a human being is looking for. So you have to knock yourself off with a drink, with a sedation, with an injection, with a weed, with something. You have to drown your mind. Michael Jackson killed himself for that. He did not get a sleep. So Vedanta says, this game never ends. So all of us are stuck in that highlighted region. In the chart, you see a region is highlighted. This is where all of us are stuck. Where are we stuck? Acquire thoughts, acquire desire, go behind chasing objects and enjoying, come back with why. Again, propel different type of thoughts, different types of desires, different things to acquire, same void. People talk about suicidal tendencies. Where does it come from? Because you don't know where else to run. That is what is creating. How can it all this be get rid of with chemicals? God knows. So ignorance of self and the void it creates is called as avidya. Where does it come from? It comes from avidya. Gathering thoughts, formation of desires is called as kama, desires, the segment of life. Busy running after things in the world is called as karma, your activities in the world. Avidya, kama, karma. All of us, from president of a nation to a farmer who is humble, who is economically struggling, all of us are stuck. Everyone is stuck. Avidya, kama, karma. Avidya, kama, karma. 3 levels. So what does Vedanta say? 2 things. The first is, you have to participate in the world. You can't go anywhere. You may say, I'll go to Himalayas. I'll go to best of place, spiritual places. That is also part of world. It is not somewhere else. So you can't run from your stations, from your places to become spiritual. You have to allow your intellect to govern your mind, not to get affected by this process. So the first learning in Vedanta is, your mind can run affairs of your life, or your intellect can run the affairs of life. If you allow your mind to run the affairs of your life, there is no escape from this. The moment you employ your intellect, you can go through acquisition, you can enjoy everything in life, but yet focus on returning to the self. As you are functioning in the world, seeking the self is called as yoga. Getting drowned in mundane is called as bhoga. How do we know that by seeking and attaining the self, everything will be quietened? Next question is, you're saying that anything you get from the body, mind, and intellect from the world will not satisfy you. You'll be going through this rat race. What is so special about the self that it gives you that subdued mind? What is the proof that it gives you infinite bliss? What is the substantiation that it gives you culmination of life? One has to experience it. But our scriptures have given a beautiful analogy, which is borrowed from science. There is a law in science which says an object ceases to be at rest, exerts pressure when it is displayed from and until restored to its natural state. This is science. Whenever an object is displaced from its natural state, until it comes back to the natural state, it exerts pressure. It is restless. It is uncomfortable. Now, all of us have pressure. All of us have stress. All of us have restlessness. It is less or more. That's the only difference. No one amongst us can say, I have experienced infinite bliss. If you have experienced infinite bliss, after that, there is nothing to seek. Beyond infinite, there is nothing more. So the very fact that we are looking for something, there is a pressure in us to become something else, to seek something else, shows that we have displaced ourselves from our natural state. So take the example. On the screen, you can see there is a 4 feet spring. This is a spring, a coil spring, like shock absorbers in your car. This is 4 feet. Suppose you compress the 4 feet spring to 3 feet. What happens in your hand? New people. Not Raghu, not Jay, not Captain. Anyone new attending today? 4 feet spring, you compress it to 3 feet. What happens? What happens? Samik, you want to answer?
It puts pressure back on my hand.
It exerts pressure on your hand. Stay alive, Samik. Let's dialogue. You
Definitely.
3 feet spring to 2 feet. Now what happens?
It exerts more pressure.
Pressure. Very good. Please keep your video on. I want to see that handsome face. You compress the 2 feet to 1 foot. What happens?
Extreme pressure.
Still pressure. When it was 4 feet, was there any pressure?
If it's in its original state, no.
Original, no pressure. The pressure is maximum, it is compressed to 1 feet, right?
Right.
From this, what we derive is, as you deviate yourself away from your original state, you gain more pressure, more stress, more restlessness in life. As you approach your original state, you become more relaxed, more restful, more peaceful. Right? Now the question is, in you, what is the natural state? In you, what is the alienated state? The leftmost where the spring is compressed to 1 foot is your body. When you identify with your body, maximum pressure. When you move to the level of mind and emotions, lesser pressure. The pressures of body don't affect you. But still there is pressure because mind casts expectations in life. But if you operate from the level of intellect and understand, this is how life is, still less pressure. But again, the problem is, we would start believing, my thoughts are right, all of you should follow me. Intellect also creates pressure. So 1 foot is the body, 2 feet is the mind, 3 feet is the intellect, 4 feet is the original state of Atman, the self. When you hit the state of self, you have reached your original being. You have not attained something new. You have just realized who you are. Body, mind, and intellect are based on what you are. The self is what who you are is. So as you keep gaining this knowledge of self, you will find that you gain more peace in life. Now, what makes you turn towards the knowledge of self? What makes you shift this direction from world to your Atman, to your self within, is MUMUKSHATVA. MUMUKSHATVA means a seeking within you, a thirst within you, a spiritual hunger and evolutionary thirst in you, which you may not recognize. When I met my guru clearly told me, Ranga, what you are going through, you don't know. 1920, I met him. 3 days continuously, I had innumerable questions. I was working in Chennai. I didn't know anything about him. So 3 days, I had loads and loads of questions. After third day, he said, you can come back tomorrow also. I said, can I come back tomorrow? He was visiting Chennai. He said, you can come back tomorrow, you can come back any number of days, but I can't feed you enough. You don't know what you're going through. There is a spiritual spark in people like you. And unless that spiritual spark is ignited with knowledge, it will not settle. It will bug you throughout life. Now, I won't tell this to a 40-year-old person who is married and has 2 children, but you're 19. Your life is an open journey. You have choices to make. So he said, I'm running an ashram, an academy in Pune. Visit for a few days. I said, if you are running an academy to teach all this, I don't want to visit. I want to join. I want to follow you. I know you're in Bombay. That's how I ended up. He said, tomorrow I'm starting the Gita lectures. Attend. I said, I don't have to attend any lecture. No. Attend, he said. He was teaching the 2nd chapter, Sthita Prajna. Within 5 minutes, he started speaking. There was like an anchor for a ship thrown into my heart and pulling. I could not wait for the lecture to get over. 1.5 hours. After 1.5 hours, I went there to the stage and he just laughed at me. He said, tomorrow you want to see me? Yes, he said. Then he said, what you have is what some of us had during our days. It's a spiritual spark. It's an evolutionary hunger. Not only me, this is the story of every spiritual student. Every one of you, what brings you here to learn Vedanta is that spiritual spark. What makes your child, Bhumika, ask, Dad, where is God? The spiritual spark. Dad, what is this Krishna? What does make, if you have a pet dog in the house, the dog will never ask this question. Your daughter or son will ask this question. Who is Krishna? Who is Rama? Who is Christ? Where is this question coming from? A feeble spiritual spark. Ramana Maharishi asked this question, who am I? A very strong spiritual spark. So unless you have the spiritual spark, you cannot practice any spirituality. It is impossible. You can't shift your focus from the world. Those people will be mundane. Don't try to change them. They still have a lot of accounts to settle with the world. Your bills are paid with the world. Your spiritual spark is clear. You walk that path. This is what our gurus are telling us. Why is that some of us have the spiritual spark called MUMUKSHATVA? Why is that some of us don't have? There is a text called Viveka Chudamani, which is written by Shankara. It explains clearly. It says, human birth is very rare. It gives us an idea of how rare human birth is. Of all the beings, a human birth is the rarest to obtain. Second verse in the text. Don't order for the text in Amazon. 700 verses it is. Bhagavad Gita first you complete. First line says, of all the births, human birth is rarest to obtain. This human body that you are carrying, he says, is rarest. What is so rare? 7 billion people are there. What is 7 billion compared to all life forms? In this body, there are millions of bacteria and virus living. They are also living beings. In a tree, there are 1,000 birds. So consider the possibility of being born as a human being with reference to the entire creation. It is so rare. Still rare is to have a firm body. Can I lie down in my bed and watch your lecture because I have a back pain? I can't hear properly. I can't focus and concentrate for 1 hour. So to be free from all this infirmity, to have a firm body is still rare. Third, he says, rarer than that is to seek the higher with that body. With that body, what are you doing? We could be boxing, we could be climbing hills, we could be trekking. But with that firm body, to seek the higher, to have that MUMUKSHATVA is still rarer. You may have the MUMUKSHATVA and do all sorts of other things in the name of spirituality. To proceed to study the Vedas, scriptures under a guru is still rare. To find a guru is still rare. And a guru shows you the way. You know all the knowledge. But internally, there is no discrimination. Still rare is a person who is able to differentiate between self and ego internally. Not through the words of guru, not through the writings of the book, through one's own experience. He is able to discriminate. He has that viveka, it is called. Still rarer is to seek complete merger with Brahman, complete dilution of ego. This type of mukti or liberation cannot be attained without well-earned merits of 100 crores of birth. This is what the verse says, take it or leave it. Unless you have lived 100 crore births, 100 crore births means from a unicellular to a human body. Unless you have lived a well-discharged life, you can't get that MUMUKSHATVA, you can't get that spiritual anchor. So how important, vital, or worthy is this spiritual spark that every one of us had? This verse is making us evident. It is the spiritual spark that made Prince Gautama into Buddha. It is the spiritual spark that made Narendra into Vivekananda. It is the same spiritual spark that made son of a fisherwoman into Vedavyasa. It is the same spiritual spark that made a temple guard into Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Temple guard, illiterate fellow. The same spiritual spark made son of a carpenter into Jesus Christ. The same spiritual spark made a mathematician into Swami Ramatirtha. The same spiritual spark made a press reporter, Balakrishna Menon, into Swami Chinmayananda. Same spiritual spark made an aristocratic prince into Swami Parthasarathi. The same spiritual spark is there in all of us. But the problem is, it is now contaminated with the coverings of the mind, which is prone to desires and attachment. So the first thing that a person has to do in spirituality is to reduce the desires and attachment from the mind. That can be done only by strengthening your intellect, by the knowledge of Vedanta. Not through the knowledge of mathematics, not through the knowledge of medicine, not through the knowledge of anything pertaining to the world. Vedas show you the direction, how to empower your intellect, how to govern your mind, and how to place the spiritual spark towards evolution in life. This is the theme of all the Vedas. So the word Vedanta is derived from two words, Veda and Anta. Veda means knowledge, Anta means highest. The highest knowledge means the knowledge that takes you to the highest possibility in life, to know your own self. Slowly, gradually, I will take to it. No, this is not something you do slowly, gradually. It's a plunge, like getting onto a bicycle. You can't say, I will gain balance and mount on a cycle. You can't say, I will gain how to float and then enter water. You have to enter water to learn how to float. You have to get onto a cycle to learn how to balance. Same way, unless you take a plunge, you won't know what it is. That's the significance of Moses when he went up to the mountain. There was a serpent. Voice of God bid him, catch hold of it, catch hold of it. Moses hesitated. The voice of God said, catch hold of it, Moses. He caught hold of it with a blind plunge, and it turned into a famous staff of Moses, with which he did miracles. He touched the Red Sea, it opened. He touched the dead, they came to life. This is all stories. What is that snake? The hissing serpent snake is nothing but the call of a guru. What is so difficult to by is the words of scriptures and words of a guru. It is so difficult. But if you take a plunge and follow it, it turns into a magic staff in your hand. It does everything for you. That magic stuff that is available to us is this knowledge of Vedanta. What does Vedanta teach? Three things. The knowledge of the individual, nature and composition of you. What is your nature? What are you composed of? First lesson. Second point is, what is the nature of the world and how should you relate to the world? Third is the nature of reality beyond the individual and the world. That's all. You, world, God. Three things. Beyond these three, there's nothing to learn in life. You, world, God. Tell me one thing you want to learn beyond. So that subject which talks about you, the individual, the world that you relate to, and the highest reality which you call as God is called Vedanta. If you learn the first two, you get peace and prosperity. If you learn the third, you get evolution. So I don't want spiritual evolution. I want more and more material resources. I want to be a peaceful person. You still have to learn Vedanta. What is peace and how to be peaceful in the world? How to get on with a nagging partner? How to live life without the two French dogs? Vedanta will teach you. Or else you keep $500,000 ready. So this Vedanta is called as Sanatana Dharma, which revolves around four words. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma means knowledge. What is right, what is wrong. It teaches you. Artha means with that knowledge of what is right and wrong, it teaches you to gain wealth. Kama means happiness, pleasure, peace. Moksha means final evolution. So the four objectives of life are gaining knowledge, gaining resources, gaining peace, and gaining yourself, regaining yourself. All four are directed by Vedanta, Sanatana Dharma. That is why it is called Sanatana Dharma, means eternal knowledge. 100,000 years back, same knowledge. Now same knowledge. 500,000 years later, knowledge is the same because human motivations are same. That is what you see ingrained in Indian national flag. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Neither BJP nor Congress seem to be knowing about it now. The wheel with 24 spokes with the hub and center means 24/7 you have to follow Dharma. Not when you go to office 9 to 5. At home anything chalega. No. 24/7 you need oxygen. Like that. Your Dharma, your intellect should be functioning 24 hours. 24 values of life represented by the wheel. Artha, prosperity, means produce, which is represented by green. Green means produce. No greenery now. In a few months, you will find everything is lush green. So cultivation, vegetation marked by green represents prosperity. Third, in between is white, which is purity, peace. And the fourth, which is saffron or orange, represents renunciation, evolution. So what does Indian national flag talk about? The four aims of life you can achieve in this country. That is why India was known as Bharat. Bharat means a land reveling in the light of knowledge, light of consciousness. So your spiritual spark, your MUMUKSHATVA, leads you towards your own self beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the intellect. This knowledge, Vedanta, educates you on what the mind and intellect are, how to relate to the world. At the same time, in the same breath, it helps you to evolve towards the ultimate direction in life. Not only Vedanta. You may say, I am a Buddhist, I am a Muslim, Vedanta may not be applicable. All scriptures have said the same thing. The first person pronoun I, yourself, is the theme of all scriptures. The American philosopher Emerson said, every man is divinity in disguise, God playing the fool. This is what he means. Every man is divinity in disguise, God playing the fool. Old Testament, The voice of God told Moses, I am that I am. Moses asked, who are you? So the voice of God said, I am that I am, you are using all the time. When you're saying, I am, where does it belong to? Find that. You will find God. Later in the New Testament, in the Bible, Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is within you. He who knows himself knows God. Same language, no difference at all. There's proof that he learned from the Eastern literatures. All the masters have acknowledged it. Later, Islam, Prophet Muhammad said, that which you are seeking is nearer to you than the neck of your camel. You're going on camel to holy places to see God. What you are seeking is nearer to you than the neck of the camel. He is indicating the self within. When we come to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am the self in all of you. I am not God stuck somewhere. I reside as the self, the core of your being in all of you. When you go to the ancient Vedas, it says, Tat Tvam Asi. Direct voice, Tat Tvam Asi means you are that reality, you are God. Now you are identifying yourself with the physical, emotional, intellectual layers. You know not the God principle residing in you. Find that out. All the scriptures are directing towards the self. The internal direction of seeking the self is dormant enough because we are focused on the external, completely preoccupied. So what we need to do to start with is to gain the knowledge, take the plunge and break this complacency. This is the starting point. Complacency is I have my home, I have my car, son is taken over business, daughter is married, and I give $5,000 every year to my church. Very peaceful life I'm living. Complacency. In English, it is called as pig's contentment. A pig is very happy living in slush. So are all of us, very, very happy in our own slush, not realizing our worth. So Vedanta says, gain this knowledge by taking a plunge. Break the complacency. Start the spiritual journey, your spiritual quest.